Hey, we're back. So cooled overnight. Yeah, like I mentioned, I took the lid off. A lot of moisture. There was moisture in here. It was nice. And then I let this sit for about, probably about 4 hours to get to room temperature. Mom, and one mistake I made one year was working this stuff when it was really cold. And it doesn't work so hot. Mom was always about getting it to room temperature. So get it to room temperature. And in the recipe that we've shown a couple of times, Mom's was 1 cup of flour. When you look at everybody else's recipes, they usually put more flour in at this point. But I stick with the cup at this point. And even then, I'm always kind of, I put it in gently and work it in. But Mom used a lot of flour on the board when rolling it out. And so, it kind of makes up for it there. But, you don't want a real floury lefse either, but you need to want to get to this consistency. So you kind of knead it in at this point, and this is going to be some good dough, I think, the way it's working out. Again, after doing this a few times, you kind of get a feel for it, but I think this is going to be a heck of a batch. If it starts to crumble and it doesn't come together, because you want to make up little balls of this, like about the size of an egg, and then put it on the platter. So I think we'll keep rolling here real quick, and I can show how to put all this together and some of the equipment as we're going along. But I'm pretty happy with this right now, and I'm not going to overdo it. But the one important thing, you see it's still kind of coming together. Can you see it from there? Mm-hmm. It's coming together nice in terms of the texture, and if you feel like it's sticking a little bit, and it is sticking a little bit, I'll add a little bit more flour, because the one thing you don't want to have happen is once you start rolling this stuff out, if it starts sticking to the board, it makes life really difficult. And so, again, here's one of those fine lines, right, where you want to make sure that it's a good dough, not too floury, but at the same time, you don't want it sticking to the board. And so we'll kind of move on to that real quick here. This looks like it's good to go. While I'm doing this, by the way, this is a griddle, and they're special griddles because not all of them get hot enough. And I'm not advertising for these guys, but Heritage Grill, another one off of, I think you can get it at House of Jacobs too. But these grills go up to 500, or this one, they'll go a little north of 500. I like 425 to start with, and you play around with it. It takes a while to heat up. At the same time, you don't want to have this running at hot for a really, really long time. It burns out the elements, so you want to kind of be cautious of that as well. All right, the other part of this thing is using pastry cloths and pastry boards. You can pick up one of these pretty much any chef shop. This is not my favorite pastry cover, by the way, but I wanted to use it because it shows, it has red writing on it, and when I can see through this, I know I've got good lefse. When you can see through the lefse and see the writing on it, and they've actually got this kind of silly, these diameters for size and all that. Merlin Hoynes was holding that lefse the size of a manhole cover. I'm starting to like them smaller. It's easier to serve with, especially with multiple people. And so I'm not going for the huge lefse anymore. I kind of go for the smaller stuff. Mom never used pastry cloths. It was amazing to me that because this really helps out a ton. If you're not using pastry cloths, it's really a lot tougher. The rolling pins. I've actually still got Mom's. I think this is Mom's actually. Yeah, this is Mom's. And actually, this was Grandma Skaalrud's at one point, and then became Mom's. Veron actually had kind of an argument over the lefse pins, which was kind of interesting at one point. By the way, she's doing okay. Not great, doing okay. Lefse sticks, I just make sure they're clean after sitting around. Whatever, Mom used to use the things out of what do you call that? The shades. She had sticks in the bottom of the shades she used to use. So, just to kind of illustrate this, and then we'll move on. about the size of an egg. And I usually kind of roll these up ahead of time, so you can just kind of get the thing hot and then roll through them. I got this for, I think, Christmas or something from you guys one time, a bunch of lefse stuff. It's actually got it's nice to kind of spread this stuff out instead of just throwing it down. And then again, let's get this moving. I'm not bashful about putting a lot of flour on this cloth. Again, you work it into the cloth. It's this is where it gets really messy. I get flour everywhere. But really, getting that into the cloth, it really helps out a ton. Again, Mom really was generous with the flour, and I think that's smart on the board, because once you start sticking, I have a backup for this, and I got multiples of these. Once they start sticking, I just throw them in the wash and go for something fresh, because once they get wet or sticky, it's really hard to bring it back into good shape. So, flatten the thing out, throw a little fresh flour down, and then get that out about that size, throw a little flour on top, and then work from the center out. And I like these circular boards. Mom didn't have one of these, but you can kind of twist it around. And when you can see the edge moving with the rolling pin, then you know that you're okay. You're not sticking. It's moving well. The dough's working well, and you can continue to move it out. Try to keep it circular. And I wasn't spending a lot of time trying to keep the edge clean on this one. I wanted to work a little faster. Get it out, and this is showing the 10-inch side here, and then make a pass underneath to loosen it up. Work, maybe a little flour, maybe not when you're starting out, and bring it back down. Again, this stuff is pretty. It's going to be thin, and it gets harder to handle. You got to be gentler as you go along. Yeah, see, you can actually see the red writing through this, and so that's telling me we're on the right track. If we can move it out that thin and get it so you can read right through it. I don't know, can you see that? Mm-hmm. All right. And this is pretty good. This isn't bad, for a first pass. Yeah, it's a little rough on the edges. Funny story, just to tell you on this one. Grandma skaalrud, Olga. Dad used to, I'm sure you've probably heard Dad talk about this, but Dad used to just make fun about Olga's lefse, that you could roof a house with this stuff. She, the one story, because remember her arms were always had she had the big chicken wings underneath her arms, and Dad one time told me the story about when he walked in, and she, instead of doing this delicate process, she flipped the lefse over her arm and beat the flour out of it before putting it on the grill. And so when Mom got in the picture and started making lefse and learning the recipes, Oli, our great-grandfather, Otis's father, would take Mom's lefse and stash